Welcome everybody. I hope you've had a lovely weekend. Today we're talking about something that affects millions of people, but still isn't spoken about enough. Endometriosis. It's something I live with myself, so this conversation is very personal for me. I'm joined by Sammy Lee, an incredible advocate who's raising awareness and doing an amazing job with all her charity work. We're going to talk about Sammy's journey living with endometriosis and the charity event she runs called Moonlight Magic. So Sammy, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's an absolute privilege. Thank you for letting me be here and inviting me to be part of your amazing venture.
It's exciting. And I can't believe, look,
Twinnies!
we turned up in the same dresses. Like how, it's just, bizarre that. And this is such an old dress as well.
Same. I was thinking about that as I walked towards the car towards you because I was like lying in bed last night thinking, oh, what can I wear?
That's like me.
And I was just, this dress popped into my head because I've lost so much weight. And I thought, oh, what can I wear? And this dress popped into my head. So it was uncanny when you just looked, the look on your face was just like,
I think I went, I was thinking we're going on camera, we're twins. Like how, it's odd. It's so weird.
I don't even know anyone else that owns this dress.
That's just, strange, isn't it? It was obviously meant to be.
Meant to be.
We've been twins today. So let's start from the beginning.
Okay, yeah. Where do you start? So I think my story is a bit different to anybody else's journey. I mean, everybody's different, but so when you're younger, you start your periods. I mean, I think I was a bit strange because I was elated when I started because I was like, Mum, and she was like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, oh, I've started my periods. And she was like, you're weird. So it's because everybody else had started and I felt left out. And then who'd have known my journey after it and to where it is now, I'd be like, oh, yeah, no, don't want that. But yeah, starting from the start, I suppose, periods a natural, normal thing for females, for us to encounter. But what you don't get is that ratio of knowing how it affects others. So I suppose for me, it was just natural. It was normal. The pain. I was always on, like, my cycle was always on time. There was nothing any like that. Nothing ever that kind of made me think that it was out of the ordinary, I suppose. So when I broached my early 20s, I remember I was working at Venue Cymru in Llandudno, and I was in the conference inside, and I was on my lunch and I was in the back, and I think I passed out. Gosh. And my boss woke me up and I was mortified and I was just in searing pain. And my nana worked with me at the time and I'd gone over to the box office to where she was. And I just like, I need to go home. I think I need to go to the doctors. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't think I can drive though, because I lost sensation. I was just in agony, felt like I was going to throw up, pass out. So I made it home, but then I rang my best friend. I said, any chance you could take me to the GP? Had an emergency appointment. And I just remember sitting on the bed with the GP checking me out, checking out my stomach because it was the right-hand side. And I squealed. I literally was like a cat on a hot tin roof. And they were like, oh, yep, that's your appendix. Gosh. So I got blue lighted in and had the operation. It was a success. But a couple of days later, and basically, when they come with their flip chart and they check your vitals and they check that you're all okay before they discharge you. And they just so ever nonchalantly went, oh, by the way, whilst we were in there having, investigation just to check as to why your appendix had erupted, you've got endometriosis. And I remember my mum going, oh, I've got that. And I just remember looking blank going,
so you didn't know she had it?
No.
Gosh.
No idea that she had it. Didn't know what endometriosis was. So unconventionally, I suppose it's not the norm to be introduced to endo, because you hear all these stories, there's 1 in 10 women that suffer with the condition, with the disease. That equates to like 1.5 million just in the UK itself. And then if you think of that on a worldwide scale, that's probably what you're looking at, about 150 million. And that's just diagnosed. But I know that the waiting time, the waiting scale to just be seen, to be taken seriously, can be up to like 8 years, you know, and we know both ourselves that laparoscopy is the only real way of diagnosis. So it's opening you up and having a rummage around it to
it's horrible
have a
that
look.
as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
I've had that before, and it's not a nice thing to go through.
So yeah, the start for me wasn't, I suppose, the norm. It was a case of, I felt like I had normal periods, and then at the age of 21 I was rushed into hospital and told that I had it. But even at that point, being told it, I was like, well, what is that? What does that mean? How does that affect it? Because Mum had never mentioned it to me. She was a warrior, she was a trooper, but you get the old kind of things where it's like, oh, having a baby will get rid of it, having a hysterectomy will get rid of it. It's all these things, but now all the research comes out, and we know now that treating it, a hormone condition with hormones, that didn't work for me. So my journey wasn't that of dismissal, wasn't that of spending 8 years to get diagnosed, or, you know, it was in, and I knew. So, I mean, it's a blessing in disguise, I suppose, that happened. So I got to know. But I'm still struggling now. I'm still battling. My journey is still not over with this disease, you know, to the point where even today I'm going to the doctors to get an emergency blood test to see if I'm fertile or not. So they're checking me day 21. And then now that I'm actually on my period, I have to go and get retested to check if I am fertile or not. But my journey with combating it, maybe just looking into it, is a case of, I was on the microgynon, the pill, for a very long time. And that, it got to the point where that wasn't working anymore. So I was under gynecological care, I was under my GP, and I would go there frequently. So they were like, right, okay, well, these are the options, this is what's available to you. So I went on something called Prostrap, which is a needle in the bum or the leg or the stomach, and it's basically dumbing down the hormones that exacerbate endometriosis. So if you think of your womb, uterus, that is the endometrium. So the endometriosis deposits or lesions, they're free to actually move. So it's within and without. So I've got adenomyosis as well.
Bless you, got both of them.
double whammy. Yeah. So it's a case of, I knew straight on the off that mine had moved and travelled outside, but the hormones themselves that we produce as females through the our cycle, through our period, they that's what they feed off. That's what that's what causes the pain. So in our 28-day cycle, it's a case of when we're actually bleeding, it wakes up and it starts feeding, but that's where it can cause the damage, because depending on where it's attached to, because there's been reports of it now on the lungs, the heart,
all over your body, isn't it?
All over your body. And that's where I'm a bit worried, because it's not just an inflammation disease, it's not just bad periods as what people think. It's literally, you can be riddled with it, and it can cause problems with walking, problems within your pelvis.
Do you get it physically as well? So, because I suffer with it it goes down in my right side of my bum and all down my legs.
Sciatica. So, to me, so say if I have to plan a hike or go out for a walk in nature, I might have to take painkillers halfway through the walk, because say 3 hours in, I can't walk. I physically...
Can you not put your foot down? Because I struggle with that sometimes, and it hits me out of nowhere. Like sometimes even driving, I find...
Driving's bad.
Oh, I've had it once when I was driving. Luckily, nobody else was in the car or anything, but I've only ever had that once, though. It's weird, and it's like a pain where it hurts. It's like cramp or something is the best way of explaining it.
Yeah. But that's what people don't realise with it, and that's where the bad press comes with... you know, the judgment and the getting dismissed from GP or the medical industry, is where people you go and you know that there's something wrong with your body. You trust your own body. It tells you that it's not right. But then it's like, oh, it's just IBS, or it's just fibromyalgia, or it's passed off as something else, and you're giving the. But from straight off on the bat, I've trusted my intuition, I've trusted my gut, and I knew that there was something more to it, even though I knew I had endo, but I didn't quite still know at a young age of 10 to 21 that what does this mean? How does it, because they didn't know. There wasn't enough research out. There wasn't enough to know. All they knew that was trying to combat it, but there isn't a cure to this day. So having a hysterectomy or have a child, have a baby,
they shove that on, don't they? Yeah. And it doesn't work all the time. No.
So it's just masking. It's trying to combat it. I mean, I've been out of gynecological sport for over 10 years plus, and they turned around and blamed me and said, well, if your endo has got worse, it's because you decided to come away from gynae. I came away from gynae because I'd literally exacerbated everything that they could give me, everything that they could do.
They just want to get it all out, don't they? Say, go on, have a hysterectomy, and then that'll be it. But it isn't.
Yeah. So I had the pill. I had the laparoscopy to find out that I'd had it, and the endo was eating my appendix, hence why it ruptured. So I'm lucky to be here, because if they hadn't have got it,
kill you.
Yeah, definitely. So then it was Prostrap, but they left me on that too long. But again, I've had to fight. I've had to remind like the NHS that where I'm at. I've had to fight for my fertility. I've had to ask the questions and constantly been knocked back, and then being able to kind of go,
So the emotional journey has been just horrendous for you.
Yeah. So Prostrap didn't work. That came with its own story and its own plethora of what's the word that I'm looking for? Brain fog is a real thing with endo as well. So I do apologise if you have to end up playing a game of charades with me and go, this is the word that you need, Sam. This is where we're going with this. So it was a case of that. I was on that for 1.5 years. You're only meant to be on it for 1 year. So that could have caused osteoporosis. But whilst I was on it, I was growing hair, like extra hair, because they were trying to quell it with male hormones. Because I'm estrogen loaded. I'm literally cock and barrel, like estrogen. Yes. So emotional bunny, bless me. So it's a case of the Prostrap didn't work. So the next port of call for me was the Mirena coil. And I've heard it works wonders for some people. And this is why it's so important to get out different stories, different experiences, because I mean, I don't know what stage endo I'm at. You know, there's different stages, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 is horrendous. But I feel like through my journey, I've been at the different stages. I've been worse, I've been better, but I think that's come through learning, through research, through understanding more about it, trusting my body, listening.
You have to do it all yourself, don't you?
You do, especially when you get rejected and you get pushed back and you're like, oh no, it's all in your head, or it's just a bad period, or, you know, come on now, you can get on with this. You can deal with this. So the Mirena coil, that led me to suicidal ideation. It led me. I had hair growth. I had boils, and it was just horrendous. I constantly either had BV or thrush. And I remember just sitting and rocking, and I just remember finding a forum, and I was typing and I was speaking to these other women, and that was probably the first port of call for me to actually where I voiced myself out into a community and found a community of women that were struggling. And none of what I was saying was natural or normal. As I said, it's worked wonders for some other people, but for me, hormones on top of hormones and dealing with a hormonal disease with hormones doesn't work for me. And it's I'm trial and tested that it's just, hence why I stepped away from it all, hence why I haven't been under gynecological care.
You had to do what's best for you, didn't you?
I had to listen. So Mirena coil, I had that whipped out. So currently I have the copper coil. So the copper coil has worked for me. Yes, okay, it made me bleed a bit heavier, but it took away from any hormones in my body, and I was then able to manage it myself. I was able to kind of through spiritual practices, breath work, heat, baths, good old loyal faithful hot water bottle.
They're the best. I have a heat pad, which is a game changer.
Definitely. So all these things I've had to figure out, but food has been a massive one for me because it is an inflammatory disease. It causes inflammation in your joints. You know, at the time of the month, it's like your body swells.
Water
It's like you can
tension,
end
isn't
up
it?
looking like the Michelin Man. It's
say
like one minute you stand on the scale and you're like one, and then you look
But
at it
nobody
again.
understands it, do they? Because
No.
I say this to people, like, you'll see me, just say you've seen me today and I look like this. You could see me tomorrow and I'll have all this
Your
swelling.
face.
Yeah, my face and everything and my stomach and everything swells and I look pregnant and it's horrible.
But that's the thing with the pregnancy, because it's like time and time over the years, I've had people come up to me and say, "Oh, when's it due?"
That's
And
hard.
that's heartbreaking in itself, because it's like the hardest part of my journey with endometriosis has been the fertility side, because 30 to 50% of females that are diagnosed with endometriosis are actually infertile. And the thing is, that's the heart-wrenching side of it, and that's more so my story with how I've been dismissed, or I've been told that, oh, it's all in your head, or, well, you're not actually actively trying for a baby, you're not with a partner, so they won't look at you. So it's like, now I'm classed as a geriatric mum. If I was to like conceive now and have a child, I'd be a geriatric mum. And it's like, I think you coined that from the age of 30. So it was a case of, for me, I've had to fight for my fertility, and that's what's kept me going. That's what's kept me going back and saying, no, I need to combat this. I need to check my fertility. And also for me, not many women know that it goes outside of the uterus, you know, and it attaches to all these different areas, you know, schooling.
We don't learn about this, do we?
No, we don't learn about
Nobody
it in
knows.
school. And there's so many young people that I come across, whether it's in my counselling, whether it's my mentoring, students that I work with, whether when I was working in schools, or just women that I counsel, you know, and I don't profess to be a medical professional. I mean, I've done my work, I've done my research, and
A lifetime of experience, haven't you?
exactly, as well. And again, everybody, you and I, our stories are very similar, but our experiences differ, you know, from what works, what doesn't work, and how it affects us in a day-to-day. But there are commonalities there throughout. And it's a case of, I would stress for anybody out there, if you've got a daughter or a young person that you're around, to help them, especially if they've got heavy periods, especially if they've got blood clotting, especially if they have fatigue, you know, like severe fatigue, they're anxious.
That's something else as well, though. The fatigue is very different to just normal tiredness.
And it can just come on.
Yeah.
Literally, you can do a full day's work, or half a day of work, and you hit a slump and you think, oh, it's something I've eaten, I've had too many carbs. No, it
comes out of nowhere.
Like yesterday, I did a full day's work, and then I hit like 3:30, 4, and I was in the fetal position. I had to get a hot water bottle, felt like I was going to throw up, had no energy. I always say it's almost like my Duracell bunny batteries have just hopped off.
That's a great way of explaining
disappeared and left me, and I'm just like, please come back. I just need an energy. But then I'll have an attack. It's almost like an attack. Yeah. It's like it's a wave. It's a bout. And I don't know about you, but the pain, I've described it. So it's like, when I get like the visual of how I could describe, because you see the posters of endometriosis with
barbed
barbed
something.
wire with the bruising all over. How I describe it is, I imagine a hot, rusty ice cream scoop. Ooh. And somebody is just going back and forth.
It's going through me, because I can feel the pain of what it feels like.
And then like having a hot needle poker, being stabbed all at the same time. And it runs up and through your body. It can make you feel sick, the fatigue, the anxiety and depression. It's all linked. I linked and coined myself sick note, for years. Because I struggled and I didn't know it was all interconnected. I didn't know, and I hated it. I hated myself, because why can't I be normal? Why can't I? It's not that I couldn't hold down a job. I was good at my job. I was conscientious, but I was either late, because I don't know what you're like, but mornings
Horrendous.
for me are the worst. I have to work later, and this is why I'm now self-employed, because it's like I can't work a standard normal 9 till 5 job, because some days I can't get up and out of bed. It takes me a while to reboot.
You're like me. I'm like this.
If I'm with a partner, and when I've been in relationships, I'll probably wake up at about 6:30, 7, be stirring, and like we'll go to the toilet a couple of times, maybe take some anti-inflammatories or take some painkillers if it's that bad. And to them, I'm normal, but I'll hide it, I'll mask it, because I don't want to impose or encroach or put
You
anything
sound so
on
much like me.
anyone else.
Yeah.
So it's like when they're like, "Oh, come on, Sam, you're running late," or "I'm stuck in the toilet," or my car has tissues, sanitary towels, a bag with black clothes.
Yeah.
It's always dark.
I was about to say I always wear dark clothes, and that is why.
And it's okay. I've had to have risk assessments in work before now, that I have to be close to a toilet, that I have to have regular breaks. If I have to leave for whatever reason to go and get a change of clothes, and it's embarrassing in work,
It causes anxiety, doesn't it?
You turn up in one outfit, and then they go like, "Oh," so you have to make up some lavish excuse of it's like, "Oh, you never guess what happened. This car went past me and just got
or I spilled tea down myself."
Oh, yeah. It's like, or something happens.
I'm glad you brought this up though, because this is something that I struggle with, going through it myself. So if we're out on a job, it's the preparation beforehand, and people don't know what goes through my brain before I have to go out and do a job. Like, it's like you said, having stuff in your car, making sure you're prepared, because you just don't know what's going to happen, and it can come out of nowhere.
I have a bottle of water on me all the time as well. I used to think that was an anxiety thing, but I realised it was an anxiety thing, because if I have tissues and I've run out of wet wipes, water, I need the water to get rid of the blood or get rid of what's going on, to have some kind of moisture there too. And it's you look in the boot of my car, and it's almost like it's like an apothecary of some kind of all sorts of weird stuff, and like just teas, all sorts of things that I've figured that like natural things that help me over the years.
Can you explain maybe some of the things that might help you? So some of the methods that you use? Or...
So as I've explained in the morning, so it's like I have like a ritual, like a routine that I have to do. So breathing exercises, I take supplements. So I take copper and zinc. I take ashwagandha. I take one of my friends recently who struggles with endometriosis. She's put me onto black seed oil, oregano and black seed oil.
Not heard of that.
Honestly, it's a game changer. Absolutely amazing, like gold standard for inflammatory, because they say turmeric and cayenne pepper, which is really good.
Because I take at home, we make these turmeric and flax seeds and ginger and black pepper, and all that we put in and take them as little shot things.
So if I'm feeling under the weather, because it affects you, if you notice, it affects your immune system as well.
Yes.
So I will take these tonics or make my own tonic. So there's garlic, raw garlic in there, natural honey, ginger, turmeric, cayenne pepper, and I'll paprika as well sometimes. So I'll stir it all up, and I'll take it as a shot. So there's orange juice in there as well. So it's not great,
but you don't care, because you know it's going to help.
You know it's going to help.
Yeah.
It's like it's natural. It's a natural relief, and it's like when I'm ill and I need a Lemsip, I'll just do natural things now, because I'm sick of taking tablets. I'm sick of putting things in my body, because they're like, just take a pain relief, take an ibuprofen. Well, if you keep taking ibuprofen every day, it's burning a line in your gut. Especially if you don't take it with food, and it's just like, there you go, pop a pill for that. There you go, a cream for that. And no, it's not. And this is why I think I'm so passionate about it, and so glad that you've brought me here today to talk about it.
Thank you for opening up today about it all, because it's, even though I go through it, it's fascinating to hear somebody else's, experiences with it all.
Yeah. Because not only does it affect you physically, it affects you mentally.
Yes.
because of the hormones. And, you know, it, as you said, you can be like Jekyll and Hyde. So it's like, you know, people that I live with, it's like I mask it really well. I hide it. So
you have to, don't you? Because you don't want to look silly, or you don't want people to judge you.
Yeah. So it's like I'm late for things. So it's like people laugh at me. My friends is like, oh, 5 minute, 10-minute late Sam. And it's like, well, I'm not trying to be like that. I'm not trying to do that. And you make... I feel in my head sometimes that it's like I'm a liar, you know. I make stuff up. It's like white lies. I'm not lying. I'm just trying to cover a situation that's really embarrassing. You know, it's like I don't want to have to, and why should I? You know, it's like hard when you've got an employer or a partner or whoever it is, and you're going, actually, it's like, oh, and you've got somebody going like this with you, and it's like, oh, sorry, you know. It's like the car broke down, battery on the car, or, you know, who wants to hear that? It's like I was stuck on the toilet and I was bleeding that much and there was clots everywhere and I couldn't get off the toilet and I've had to change my clothes and have a shower. Who wants to hear that? Especially when it's a room full of people, when you've just walked into a room and somebody goes,
and it's not something you're going to share, is it? You wouldn't
why are you late? And you literally just...
But there are young girls out there now going through exactly what you've just said. Yeah.
And it's like, and they don't understand that that's what's happening. They don't understand that anxiety is linked with it, that the depression is linked with it, that hormonal dysregulation. So I've had to learn how to emotionally regulate. I don't know about you, but the week before...
Yeah, that's the worst.
Hormonally, for me, it's the irrational, suicidal...
thoughts. Yeah.
Distorted thoughts. That are so dangerous, because I know I'm a good person. I know that what I can do. I know that, you know, I'm loved and I'm supported. But in that week, the week before, I'm a mess sometimes. And I'll just think that people are going to leave me, or that I'm better off dead, or that I shouldn't be here. That it's a case of like, I just get lost in myself. And I've had to really, really look at myself and kind of go, no, it's okay. Just breathe. Just go through it. You have
to keep reminding yourself that it's temporary.
Yeah,
this is what I do.
Today. Just for today.
That's my motto.
Or it can just be an hour.
Yeah.
And then you come out of it and you just think, what was that? Who was that? You know, hence I was saying the Jekyll and Hyde.
But you feel like you need to go and admit yourself to hospital or something, don't you? Because you've been all funny, but it isn't like that. And yeah, it's just horrible.
I don't think that. Well, I definitely know now that that's why I'm self-employed. Because it's like I can't work and do a normal 9-to-5 job because of how it affects me, because of having to constantly reiterate myself or explain why I'm late, or why I can't, you know. Luckily, I've been able to mask it. And I think today, just speaking it out and actually speaking to somebody and being able to be heard and speak my truth freely. Yes, okay, it's a camera, and I don't know how many people this is going to reach and how many people are going to see this. But it's like, I'm not thinking about that. No. I'm thinking about my truth, and I'm thinking about how many other people does that affect and share. And I know that when I have opened up on social media and I have shared my story, because I've mentioned before, my heartache and my biggest part with endometriosis is the infertility side of it.
I wanted to ask you a question on that, and I didn't know if you mind talking about it.
No, you're more than welcome to ask me.
You sadly lost a child, didn't you, as well?
Yeah, I did. Oh, I got goose pimples everywhere then. So 2 years ago, the day after my birthday, well, I suppose it was the night of my birthday leading into February the 11th, I had a miscarriage, but I didn't know actually as it was happening that I was miscarriaging. So jump back a couple of months prior to February, in the November I'd spotted. So to me it's normal. It's natural. Yeah. Again, it's that commonality of it's one or the other. It's like you spot, or it might be 3 days late, you might be 7 days late. So it's like when you're in that and you're in a relationship, it's like, am I pregnant? Am I not pregnant? So it's that common feeling of anxiety.
You get it every month, don't you? It's horrible.
It's every month. And it's like, what's wrong with me? Why am I? And stress can exacerbate it. I've noticed that if stress is a big thing in my life, it it heightens
It's
endo massively.
Yeah, it is. It's horrible.
It heightens
makes everything
all
worse.
of the symptoms, everything. But I think that that's linked in with the hormones that you release with stress. So like cortisol, it releases insulin, and then estrogen is massively linked with sugar.
Yes.
And it all builds
Spikes.
up. It spikes, and it's all there. And so it's a commonality of why it will affect other organs. But going back to the miscarriage, in the December, I hadn't at all. So my partner at the time had said, I think I might be pregnant. And then February, my birthday, I'd gone out on a night out. My partner at the time, he'd taken me out, bless him, because we were still friends. We weren't in we were in a kind of situationship, you know, of figuring things out as you do. But they've always been a really great friend of mine. They hold a beautiful place in my heart, and they always will do. But I remember begging them to stay with me that night, because I got to a certain point in the night, and I'd be ready to go and go dancing. I love dancing, and I just couldn't. I couldn't move. I'd gone to the toilet. I'd thrown up. I'd had diarrhea. And I just knew that there was something wrong. And I remember sitting in bed and having both knees up against my chest. And I suppose you know this with being a mum and having given birth, it's like that.
Yeah.
You know, and I can only imagine it's like what that feeling is.
Contractions are horrible. Yeah.
So that to me was what felt like was going on, what was happening. But at the same time, I was like, oh no, this is kind of normal. But I must have passed out, because I woke up slumped but still holding my knees.
You poor
so
thing.
I must have been in that much pain, that much agony, that I'd passed out, and I felt I'd landed in that position. And I just remember being soaked, and I thought I was sweating, like I must have had a bad nightmare or something. And I just remember pulling the quilt back, and it was just everywhere. There was blood everywhere. There was clots everywhere. I got up and went to the toilet, and there was a trail from the bed, and it was literally like, Mum, can you help me? Luckily she was in, and luckily I live at home currently, because if the amount of times I've thought, sorry, this is going to be a commonality of now. It's like, I don't know if you get it, but it's like the pain in your pelvis,
it hurts
and
a lot.
Fidget, you have to move.
And
every now. Pain just
people are going to know now. This is all about me now. When I'm doing these podcasts, they'll be like, why does she move? But that's why.
Okay? Twitching. So yeah, I'd gone to the toilet, and if I'm honest, I knew that there was something wrong. I knew it wasn't right.
Yeah.
I just thought my endo would maybe come back with vengeance. But I went and got tested anyway, not pregnancy tested, but I had bloods done, and then I was referred for another ultrasound.
Did they come back normal?
Yeah.
What a surprise. Yeah.
But with the bloods, surprisingly, I remember the nurse ringing me. It wasn't actually the doctor I'd been to see, it was a nurse. And I remember her words being, oh, everything's okay, Miss Davis, you're okay. But your sex hormone was out, we have to let you know if we find any anomalies or anything like that. So that was the only thing that was out. And I said, well, what does that mean? And she said, oh, it's nothing to worry about, but we have to let you know. And I said, well, if you're not worried, I'm not worried. So I just kind of took that at face value, that was okay. That was normal. It seems a bit of a common thing, isn't it?
It is. It's the same. Normal. We all say that. Normal.
Yeah.
But
so didn't think anything of it. And then the ultrasound came a couple of months later. I'd gone for the ultrasound, and for me, I've had that many ultrasounds, and that I found really hard, because
I think I know what you're going to say here. Yeah, it must be difficult.
You're in a waiting room, and people can be going for ultrasounds for all sorts of different things. But if it's a gynecological ultrasound, 9 times out of 10, it's because they've got a beautiful baby on the way. And I find it really hard, because I'm sat staring and just wishing and longing that was me, that I was finally going into the ultrasound for the right reasons and not for the wrong reasons. So you have to down your pints of water, so your bladder's full, and then you're getting poked and prodded.
Horrible.
So I'd had that bit done, and I'd emptied my I'd gone for a wee, and I'd come back, and they'd obviously looked at my notes. I don't know if this happens with you, but the amount of times I've had to explain and they've gone, do you have endometriosis?
You've broken
And I'm
record,
like,
aren't you? Oh, wrong.
Have you looked at my records? Have you? It's literally, I remember my gynecologist coming out and plonking it, thudded, it
that
hit the
big?
desk. It's that big. It's like 10 Bibles in one.
Bless you. Problem
The holy
person,
grail
isn't
of
it?
endometriosis.
You do. You feel like a problem person, though, don't you?
Yeah.
I always say I feel like
And
a
I just
problem.
remember looking at it once and thinking, oh,
Yeah.
okay. But she'd actually looked, and she just out of the blue just went, have you had a miscarriage? And I was just like,
Wow.
well, that's part of the reason why I feel like I'm here. I said, because things haven't been right. I wasn't sure, but yeah. And she just looked at me, and the room was like silence. And she said, are you happy for us to continue for the internal examination? And I just remember my legs slumping like that, holding back tears, and just looking at the screen, knowing I wouldn't see anything, but having been told that, looking at the screen and just seeing an empty space where there was once something, and not knowing how old they were, you know, whether I was lucky enough with the work that I do, the spiritual work, that she has come to me. And I do know that she's a little girl, so we've named her. So Aurora Luna Rose.
That's beautiful.
She actually named herself partly, which was quite interesting. It was quite interesting because I was getting ready to do an event for a friend of mine that's actually had a podcast here, Bernice.
Oh yeah.
So I was going to do one of her events, and I was connecting in with spirit, and I was connecting and protecting my energy. And the next minute I hear this voice going, you and Daddy haven't named me. And I was like, who are you? And it's like, it's me, Mummy. And at that moment, I just broke.
Give me goosebumps.
And I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. And I was just like, okay, well, what's your name? And I'm Aurora. And then me and my ex-partner, we decided on Luna, and then she said the Rose. So I just thought, well, that's beautiful, because I love the Aurora Borealis. I have an affinity with Labradorite as well, the stone. Always loved it. So I just thought that's pretty fitting.
Beautiful
really.
story.
Really beautiful.
Yeah.
But going back to when I'd had the ultrasound, so thinking about the ultrasound, that was March, April time. And I'd lost her at, say, so we figured out, because there's a beautiful company, and because there is nothing out there for women at certain trimester of losing a child. It's like, oh, it's gone down the toilet, or it's just happened.
There isn't much out there, is there?
I didn't get a funeral. I didn't get to have a christening. I didn't get a naming ceremony. I didn't, as awful as any trimester, your body changes. You've had something, and I went through the imposter syndrome of like, I'm not a mum. I can't call myself a mum. I can't affiliate or associate with that. And that ruined me for a long time. It still affects me now, to the point of I don't know how to deal with it. I don't know how to I didn't know how to grieve it. It's like, how do you grieve something that you didn't, well, I saw it, but it was traumatic. But to me, it was also a norm, because I'm used to clotting, I'm used to bleeding heavily.
It's a lot to get your head around.
Yeah. So to have that happen, but when I did the research going back, actually, if your sex hormone is out, that means that you're pregnant.
Oh.
So having the links that I'd made with what had happened with spotting, which is if you spot between, it's a sign that you're losing, which again, I didn't know, because I was 16 when I had my first one. And it was just a case of, it was a completely different experience. It was, but similarly, it was just a case of on the toilet, massive clot, like literally as big as my hand. And I just kind of went, and I felt ill, and I just flushed it down the toilet. But I dealt with it myself.
Gosh, I didn't know you had that at 16.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So I've got 2 spirit babies. But I'm not sad now, because I know that they're with me, because I'm lucky that I have that faith, and I lead the life that I do, the spiritual life that I lead. But it doesn't mean to say that it doesn't pain me. It doesn't upset me. It doesn't make me think I'm any less of a woman, because I do. I was like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I? Why can't this happen for me? But when I've been to the doctors to try and fight for my fertility and fight for what I want, I'm told that I'm a geriatric mum, I've run out of time, there's nothing that I can do. So unless I've got thousands of pounds where I can go and freeze my eggs, but the thing is, because I don't have a partner and because I've not been actively or avidly trying, they would put me through the NHS to freeze my eggs, or they would help me. But because I'm a single woman and I'm on my own and I still want to be a mother, there's nothing we can do.
I think that's so bad. It's the way that they do everything like that is just...
And that's where I'm at to this day with my journey. So I've got the copper coil, and I did catch on the copper coil, because you can, nothing's 100% guaranteed.
How are you finding that then? So it's been good.
The copper coil's been good for me,
Yeah.
because, as I said before, me and hormones, but that's my story. That's my experience of how I've dealt with my journey. But I don't know what's out there now. There could be something different that's out there. But all I know from my journey so far is that laparoscopy is the only way that they've been able to diagnose me. So I've had 3 laparoscopies. I've had it cut out of me. I've had it lasered out of me. I've had the blue dye through your system to check that I am fertile.
That's what I've had. I had laparoscopy, and they did it through my fallopian tubes, and that's where I found out they were blocked.
Wow.
But my story is a different story there with that, though. But again, I was misinformed information, and it's horrible. And you go your life thinking certain things. Like, I didn't think I could have a baby, so I know I feel selfish even saying this, because I am blessed and I'm grateful I've got my little boy now. But before that, people don't realise I didn't think that was ever going to happen. Like, I was at Liverpool Women's Hospital there. I sat in them waiting rooms. I've experienced... Like, I know I'm saying this now as a mum, but it's hard to talk about it, because I know how it feels to be in that situation, and it is a feeling that you can't explain unless you go through that. Like, it's getting me upset now, because it's horrible. Like, it's absolutely what women go through, and they just palm it off, say, oh, let's just get rid of it, or you can adopt, you can do this, and that's great. Like, you know, that's an amazing thing to do, and if that's part of your journey, then one day you might do that. Do you know what I mean? But at this time, it's like you're going through all these emotions. You need to just be in that moment, don't you?
And that's not what I want. That's not how I've envisaged. You know, if any which way I'm graced with being able to have a child, I will welcome it. But I want to be able to have the full immersive experience of, until it's signed on the dotted line and I'm told and I'm shown that I can't. I don't think I'll ever give up. Even if I was told that, I wouldn't give up. But I'd have to be with, and I'm so glad that you didn't, because the amount of conversations that we've had over the years.
Didn't think it was ever going to be possible. I know it happened very quickly, and that's a different story, but, you know, your story is still being written.
Yeah. And I think that that's where I've come to now, because through the years of trial and tribulation with the medical side, with the trial and tribulation of understanding who I am as a person, and it's like, endo isn't me and I'm not endo. It doesn't set me aside from being who I can potentially be. It's just maybe taken me a lot longer to get there. I've had to figure out that I have to work and be self-employed. I can't have an employer because it's too painful. It's too embarrassing. It's you get penalised and judged for being ill.
And then it makes the stress worse, so then you end up being more ill, and then it's a vicious circle.
Yeah. And it's like, I didn't know that anxiety and depression was attached to it. I didn't know that I was being hormonally flooded and overridden, and that I have got such a high level of estrogen.
Did people try and say this to you as well? So did they say, oh, it's just anxiety, or it's just depression, or you know that? Because I've had that to me all the time, or people are like, just go on medication and things, and I'm like, no, because that's not going to get to the bottom of it all. Do you know what I mean? It's just like you were saying, putting a plaster over it. And when you know in your gut as well the reasoning behind the reasons why you're feeling a certain way, it's so frustrating.
If I look back now, it's quite. I mean, I've always worked. I've been a workaholic. You know, there was times where I had 3 jobs at once. You know, I was working in the day, and then I'd have an evening job working with the youth service, and then I'd have my own stuff running alongside. So I'd have my events, Moonlight Magic, and I'd set up my business, Soul to Soul Healing. So in any time slot that I had where I could, I'd either be doing readings or therapies, holistic therapies, or running holistic events. But I came to a point where I had a mental health breakdown when I was working for probation, and I couldn't push anymore. I couldn't do it anymore because of being penalised, not understanding. And that's where I think a lot of things changed for me. So like the years of 2012, 2013, that's where I really took this condition and myself really, really seriously, because I didn't know why I was how I was. And the commonality was the endo. It was all linked, but I'd never put it. I mean, obviously not obviously, but there was trauma there. But that's an interesting topic as well, because I did my master's not so long ago in counselling, and researching into things. And I was, if I was ever to go back and do a PhD, I would love to look at the commonalities between ADHD or neurodiverse, endo, and trauma.
It's interesting you bring that up, because there is a lot of research that's coming out at the moment, isn't it, with trauma and how it can affect endo and...
Yeah, massively. And there was actually research. I remember we had a guest speaker that came, and disclosure now, there was... I've been sexually abused and raped when I was a child.
To hear that, yeah.
I've had it happen a couple of times. So when I was 8, when I was 10, 11, I was groomed, and then I was in a really heavy sexually abusive relationship from when I was 18 to 21. So I do feel that part and parcel that trauma, especially 21 was when I found out that I had endometriosis.
And you hold that trauma as well in our bodies.
We do.
Yeah.
We definitely hold that.
Especially the womb in a woman. That's one of the... It's powerful.
Yeah. There's an amazing book called The Body Knows the Score.
I'll have to have that.
And it talks about trauma being held in your cells, in your body. And that's why I suppose like I link a lot of my holistic work and a lot of the work that I do, not just with endo. I've never really linked it with that, but I think mind, body and soul connected. If you're not connected and you're out of sync, there's something, like as I said to you before, the body is in dis-ease, and that's what disease is. The body will tell you that there's something wrong. But when we go to these professionals or we go to people to seek support and to be heard and to be validated and then to get brushed off, I mean, I got to a point where I was made redundant because I couldn't work anymore. Well, not because couldn't work anymore, but I'd lost my job. I had to go on benefits. I was on PIP. And it all snowballed. So it all exacerbated, and I hit my other rock bottom. And I didn't want to be here anymore. I didn't know how to push through. I didn't know who I was anymore, because what was my passion and purpose? I couldn't do my passion and my purpose because of this. And then I don't know if you have the same, but with anxiety of the fear of failure or the expectation. So like my events, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I used to sync and cycle my events around the moon.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I'm learning something new there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Moonlight Magic, well, back in the day, our ancestors, there was something called red tent. So there was communities of women that would gather in a red tent, and they would bleed. They would bleed into the ground. They would help look after each other's children. And it was a cyclic thing. So the moon is 28 days. Our cycle is 28 days. And I bet, bottom dollar now, I'm going to say this to you now, you either have a friend, a sister, a mum, or somebody who you are in cycle with.
I was going to say I've got a funny scenario there. It's like, even though Tom's my business partner, no, it's not Tom.
Oh, something you're not telling me, Tom.
He's not a female. Well, I hope you're not. I'll be asking your partner. No, but no, his missus, it's really funny. No, his missus, even though I'm working with Tom, me and her are sometimes quite synced, and I don't know if it's just, well, even like I've got 2 younger sisters, and when I lived at home and with them, you do sync up, or if you spend time, it's
But
mad.
what happens is society has put us on these pills, has put us on these things that have taken us out of an unnatural cycle. So it's like what you will either find happening is you will link or cycle, or your cycle will link in with those that are close to you. And it's like the amount of women that are very close to me in my life that I cycle with. And even though my mum, bless her, she's had a hysterectomy, but that's another thing, actually. I'm glad that I've mentioned that, because that's another one of those things that they've said. It's like, oh, have a hysterectomy, have a child, you know, it'll get rid of it. It will. There is no cure for endo to this day.
From experience of having a child, like, it helped me for a little bit, and I found that my periods took a while
But why? Because your hormones are trying to go back into sync, so they think that it's like, oh, it gets rid of it, because your hormones are all out of sync, because you're not producing those hormones because you are pregnant. The hormones that you're producing in your body is trying to get you fertile, to get you pregnant. So it's a case of that's what it feeds off. That's what endo is. It's lesions that moves outside of the body and within the uterus. It latches on, it causes the scar tissue, which hence increases the risk of infertility, because within the womb, within the endometrium, it's like if you've constantly got the lesions that they will feed during the time of your period, but it doesn't matter to them. They'll feed whenever, but their goal time is like, oh, period, lots of these lovely hormones, so they're like nom nom nom, feed, and then what happens is some of the cells will die off and it causes scar tissue. So there's nothing for a baby to attach to. So if you're having that in your fallopian tubes, or you're having that within, you know, your womb, and then it travels out, and that's why it was eating my appendix.
And it attaches to other things, doesn't it? Yeah.
And that's where I'm at today as well with my journey with it all, is that I'm fearful, because I've literally, since the age of 21, I've either had problems with, it's a bit minging, I've either had constipation or diarrhea, I've had inflammation, I've had oral thrush throughout, I've had problems with BV or thrush, highly sensitive.
Do you get bleeding gums at all? Like, because I get inflammation and my gums bleed as well, and that's something that, and I didn't realise, your tongue as well. So I'm sensitive to certain food, like especially fruit and that. I get the blisters on the side of my tongue and stuff, but I've only found out recently that's to do with that.
It's all about your body being in natural flow of hormones and acid versus alkaline. So it's like, that's why it's so important. And there's so many books out there now where they call it the endo diet. So there's certain things that will exacerbate it. So inflammatory foods, so wheat, yeast.
Yeast is bad.
Awful. That's why when we were talking before, when you said about, oh, you were vegan for a while. I was eating all the wrong foods that were making things worse. And I would hold the weight, I would balloon, everything would exacerbate, because my body was in inflammation. My body then was in stress, so it would exacerbate the endo and the pain.
Yeah, it's different for everybody, isn't it? And it's interesting you say that, because it's like, even there's studies and stuff at the moment, and also day to day, you know, where people are eating lots of salad and things, but that's not always a good thing, because of the pesticides that are on the food that we're eating, and you have to wash everything, don't you? And
you're taking a lot of the nutrients and the goodness and the naturalness out of it anyway. So hence why finding my own journey, but the hysterectomy side of it, I remember reading a book, and as I said, as I was getting more into my research, and I was screenshotting pages upon pages to my mum, like WhatsApping her, and just like, she'd had the hysterectomy, but she's having a hip operation soon, and it literally has riddled her within that pelvic girdle, and you know, it's embedded into the muscle and the ligaments within her pelvis. So I don't know with you, it's like if you sleep on one side, you wake up and your pelvis or your
just do my hips. I get it in my hips a lot.
Yeah, your hips are in excruciating agony, and it's like, again, sitting, have to constantly move,
I keep going like
fidget, or like in bed. It's a nightmare, because I feel like I'm a fidget, because it's like, I prefer to be in the fetal position and lie, but then I can't because my leg will go numb but it's the same with walking, and it's like that constant movement, and especially at that time of the month it's all inflamed and it's very painful. But she was really upset to find out that she'd believed that. She thought that would solve things, but again,
that's all they knew back then, though, as well. Because my mum had a hysterectomy, and I've always got people going, just have it all taken out and all that. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not going to get to the bottom of it, because I'm still going to end up with all these other issues. And there's also research at the moment, I don't know, I'm no medical expert and all that, but that it is causing other issues later on, isn't it? But I don't know, I guess it's each to their own. And
well, the lesions, the actual deposits of the endometriosis, as we've said, it can move, it can go away and attach itself to wherever it wants, really. What they found is, even if you have a hysterectomy, it's got its own source of estrogen and hormones that will carry on and continue to do what it's doing. And then when we're feeding our bodies
evil thing, isn't it?
certain types of foods to exacerbate it, it's like sugar.
Yes.
Sugar causes havoc with our microbiome. It kills our bad bugs, overrides our good bugs, and we can get things like leaky gut. There's all so many things linked to. So if anybody out there, women that have got endometriosis, if you're suffering with anxiety, you're suffering with depression, you're having problems with your gut, your bowel, your hips, you're having problems with your mental health, sporadic sweats as well. It can mimic sometimes kind of early menopause, because that's what Prostrap did. They wanted to put me in early menopause and change the hormones.
Stuff. It was horrible. I felt crazy.
Yeah. But as I said, the suicidal ideation, that they're wanting it to stop.
Yeah.
And, you know, at an early age, I did attempt, and again, a disclosure, I tried to kill myself. I didn't want to be here anymore. And that was not long after being diagnosed, because of the pain, because of the loss, because of everything that I'd been through. And I just thought, I can't carry on like this. I don't know how to be. And it affects your relationships, because if your partner doesn't understand you or isn't willing to understand,
they think
or
you're just
work
moaning
with
all the time.
But it's the sporadic change in your hormone and your temperament. And an ex of mine actually used to say, because I'm in cycle with the moon, but it's changed ever since I've had the miscarriage. I haven't been the same. So that's why I'm now, a new part of my journey is 2 years ago, after the not hysterectomy, I didn't have one of them. After the miscarriage, because we've been talking about it, because of the miscarriage, I knew that stuff wasn't right. So I've been trying again, fighting for my fertility, fighting to be heard, fighting to actually know that there's something wrong with me. So I got missed off the list. So then December this year, I got rushed into hospital with gallstones. I didn't know it was gallstones at that time, but now I'm worried that it's had free reign for the last 10 years that I've not been under medical care, and it's caused other issues. So it's not a thing. You know, obviously gallstones are formulated through hormones, through cholesterol, and lots of other things. But it's a case of where else has it moved? Has it moved? Is it causing other problems?
It gets you questioning it, doesn't it? And you don't know, and it's the unknown as well that causes the anxiety.
And when you're going for these blood tests, it's like, oh, there's no markers, there's nothing wrong. Ultrasound after ultrasound, oh, there's nothing wrong. Well, yeah, there is. Oh, it's IBS. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that.
Have you had an MRI scan at all?
I would love to, but I don't have. I would love to be able to go private. I would love to go to the clinic in Liverpool. I've heard there's an amazing clinic in Liverpool. Because there's fertility as well on Instagram.
You can do an MRI. I've just had, 2 weeks ago, I had an MRI through the NHS.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but you have to go through a process.
I had to go through it all over again, and it was repeating myself again and again and again, and it gets so...
And this is where I'm at now.
You can't be...
So it's been 10 years without gynecological care.
Yeah.
I went back 2 years ago. I was left off the list. I was sent a letter to say I was on a list. And then because of everything that's been happening recently and the changes in my body, again, I've had to go back and basically say, I'm not on a list. This is getting severe again. I'm in pain a lot. Lots of symptoms have changed. And she's like, well, we know that you've been diagnosed. The only thing that we can do for you is a laparoscopy. But part of me is like, well, can we not do the MRI first before you go in and have the
That's what they should.
invasive
They
surgery.
should do that, because my consultant, I've got a different person now.
Yeah.
Because I asked not to go back to one of them. Like, I've had a couple, and there was one that did the laparoscopy and stuff, and I felt like he butchered me. That was another story, but we won't go into that. But it's funny, they're all different. They say different things, and this is where it gets so confusing. And like, you can tell I'm getting frustrated a bit about it now, because it is frustrating, because you hear different things off different people, and then you're thinking, well, what am I meant to do? Where do I go with this? Like, and then like, I've obviously been offered that opportunity, but it doesn't mean you're going to be offered that. So why can't everybody go through the same procedure? Like,
I'm lucky there's a lady in my local GP that every time I've been to her, she's heard me, she's listened. Good. But I've heard through the grapevine, I don't know if it's 100% true, but when I was rushed in to hospital in December, they're actually pushing Betsy Cadwallader to have clinics in all the hospitals in North Wales that are specifically just designated and designed, and I think they're rolling them out. I think Bangor's going to be the first, and then they're going to go along. But I really
incredible if they could do that.
I really, really hope that that's the case, because there's a crying need for it. You know, the amount of young people that have been where I am, but they don't know, that they're not informed. There definitely should be something within the curriculum within schools where they're informed about all of these gynecological things, polycystic ovaries, PMDD, because it's hormones. So as soon as a girl has her period, there's a potentiality. It doesn't mean to say just because she's started her period, she could have had it her whole life, but it's the hormones.
You don't know, do you?
Endo, it feeds off and is created and exacerbated through hormones, hormonal change. So it's like, just because those hormones, and then when it started and when it's living, just because you take those hormones away doesn't mean to say that those lesions stop.
No.
So, and this is where it's scary, because there's no cure for it. There's no currently, you know, it's just kind of put a plaster on it, deal with it, off you pop. But now my journey is that I'm being re-referred. I was told 2 years ago that I couldn't get help for fertility. There was nothing a woman of my age who wasn't with
How insulting is that?
With a partner that desperately still wanted to be a mum, that there was nothing that they could do for me. It was my fault.
You could go down being a single mum avenue. I remember at the Women's Hospital as well, like, there's different options. And that was through the NHS. I got referred there, but I know there's the private side of it. But it's just
when you've been made redundant and you're on benefits and you're just trying to deal and be and get yourself back up off the floor, I don't have the affluence, I don't have the opportunity to be that lucky currently to be able to have that as an option. I would love to have a full MOT, I would love to have an MRI scan, I would love to freeze my eggs, but that's not my option. And for anybody out there who's lucky enough to do that, I wish you all the luck in the world. But it's a case of just don't stop fighting, don't stop listening to your body, keep asking the questions, keep pushing. And I've been through a rocky road for the last 10 years, and it wasn't I think, weirdly, I was saying it out loud now, and I think it's just come to me. I think I've come to a point of, it's never happened.
Yeah.
And because I've lived a life without children or without, you know, and I'm just doing what I'm doing and just glad to be alive, I think it's a case of like, I'm numb to it and I'm scared.
That's not a nice position to be in.
And I shouldn't have to be in that position. I shouldn't have to be scared to fight for my fertility, for the want to be a mum. But at the age of 40, and it gets me quite upset thinking about it now, because I'm having a blood test today, potentially, to find out whether I am fertile and whether I can still have children.
A lot to get your head around that.
And next week I could know what my options are moving forward, whether that's it. But I think even if I was told that that's it, I don't think I'd stop fighting. I'd try and find some kind of way.
You know my story.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into that now, but look, miracles happen.
Yeah.
They really do.
It's quite, I can't put it into words of how it feels, because all I've lived is watching. I was, ask any of my friends, I was always the one that was like, oh, I'm going to be married, I'm going to have children, I'm going to be this, and it's like I'm watching all of them do it, the ones that didn't want children.
I know,
and
it's funny, isn't it? It's
they're
ironic.
popping them out left, right, and centre, which I'm so grateful. I'm so glad that I've got these beautiful people in my life, and that they've been able to have that. And it's not even a resentment. It's part of me is like, where's life gone? Why haven't I had the help? Why haven't I had the support?
It's the questioning, isn't it?
It's the constant questioning of the what if. Could I have done more? But I know I've fought. I know I've done everything within my power, within my understanding. And knowledge is power. Yeah. Knowledge is empowering.
Hold on to that feeling as well, and hold on to knowing that you've done all you can do.
And that's why it's, even though it's such a big thing and there's so much more coming out about it, there needs to be more. Definitely. There needs to be more education. There needs to be more understanding, more kindness, more support, because you've still got the misogyny against women with our health. We have to fight for everything. We've had to fight to be seen, for a pay rise, for everything. And that's not me having my feminist and burning my bra. It's the truth. Yeah, it's there in society, you know. So for me now, that's the next port of call, and I'll have to deal with whatever that is when it comes. And I don't know what I'll be like, because I have moments of thinking, will I shut down? Will I just go into this depressive thing of I'll just want to just disappear? Or will it make me fight for life and the life that I've got, and I have to grab life with both hands and just give it the all that I can, and I can maybe be a crazy doggy lady and have some kind of like farm with lots of animals and stuff, or maybe I can just be, I don't know, a support network for mums, or, you know, adopt, or something. I was going to say, would you ever
adopt?
I think currently at the moment it's not something that's in my radar. It's not something that I've entertained, because I want that so much. I want to be able to, if I'm blessed with that, to be able to be feeling natural. Because again, it comes in with that imposter syndrome of not being able to do what you're meant to do as a woman, you know, of being able to birth a child.
But we're so hard on ourselves with that as well.
Because I know that's not what people think and what people would put on you. But for me, I think it's because my parents, my mum and dad had me at 16 and 17. They're still together. Yeah. You know, I've got my brother, you know, and my mum was living proof that even though you could she had endometriosis, she had two healthy children.
Like my mum, she had 3.
Yeah.
No, she had miscarriages and lost babies as well, but the stories are there. I
don't lose hope with it. I don't lose faith with it. But there's days where, especially like the week before, where I was in B&Q the other day, and I was getting some bits for my new office, and I could see families, I could see children, and I could see them buying stuff for their house, and it really hits at a level where I'm like, what's wrong with me? Oh. Why can't I do that? What's wrong with my body? Why there's something wrong with me? And it goes back to that whole thing of, it must be like my endo, I must be infertile, but it's the not knowing.
That's the worst part. It's not having
control of it.
That is it. Yeah. That is the worst part about it. But
then it amplifies every other part of your life, because the work, you know, I know we've touched on work, and we're both self-employed females, you know, that are bossing it and are, you know, taking our own power in and putting it out there, and wanting to help as many people as we can through our experiences. But at the same time, it doesn't take away from what we've lost and what it's taken from us, and the fight that we've had to fight just to be heard, just to be seen, just to be valued, just to have some kind of normality, whatever normality is.
It's true. Because even I was just thinking then when you were talking, as a mum myself now as well, there's the impact of actually how it affects motherhood too, because I can't show up every day at how I imagine to be in my head as being the best mum I could be for my child, because it impacts so much of my life. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, from an outsider's point of view, people don't realise that, like, even from that perspective and from perspective of not having children, it's interesting how I don't know. It's.
But you've just brought something up for me, because it's a worry as I'm getting older, and will my endo get worse, and will that stop me from being able to do certain things, because it has in the past work-wise. And if I'm a single mum, or I don't end up being lucky enough to stay with a partner that I end up having that child with, and I'm on my own, I know I've got amazing friends and got amazing family, but when those doors are closed and it's just you and your child, it's hard. You know, it's hard enough being a mum anyway. But when you've got a disease or a health situation, you know, and it's a case of I've had that nightmare. I've literally woken up in sweats thinking, so it kind of puts me off. And that's sad to say. It puts me off wanting to be a mum. And now I'm getting older.
Let that do that.
It makes me think of, can I be a good mum? Can I be able to give the best? But you don't get a book with being a mum, do you?
No,
you know,
you
it's
definitely
like,
don't.
You can have oh, my child's going to be this, and I'm going to do this, and they're going to go to this school, and they're going to love this, and I'm going to. That can all, you know, from your birthing plan to the moment they arrive.
That goes out the window.
It doesn't.
I wanted a water birth, and that didn't happen.
But
I was just getting stabbed at every, like, because I'm not going to go into my birthing story right now. It's just, but there's, you know, it's just one of them subjects, isn't it? It's good that we're talking about this though, and we're talking about it on two different sides as well, because I think that's really important. And raising awareness about the whole subject, isn't it? And
I don't even know what stage I'm at, you know, because there's 5 stages to endo. You know, I've heard horror stories of where women's organs are like attached to each other,
stick together, can't they?
But doesn't mean to say that that's not happening for me, and that's what's causing my problems. But I think the main thing is the length of time of how it is to even those that aren't diagnosed. It's horrendous. The length of time to then have an operation, or to have pointless procedures and ultrasounds and things like that aren't picking up these things. There needs to be more done.
Definitely.
Because the more time goes, you don't know how long you've got. You don't know what it can cause and the damage that is being made. And hopefully I'll find out in a week or so where my level is at, and then I'll have to make a choice.
I'm wishing you the best with all that.
Thank
and
you.
We'll be thinking of you.
Thank you very much.
But on a positive note as well, like Moonlight Magic, just tell us a bit about that, you know.
So Moonlight Magic, my grandfather, Ray Herbert, he came to me and he asked if I could be on the committee for Happy Faces, children's charity. And I thought, how can I help? What can little old me do?
Well, you could do loads of things.
So I remember going to an MBS fair in Mould, and and the Fairy Festival in Llangollen, and I was just completely overwhelmed by it, because I suppose this links in, well, if anybody's thinking, why are they now talking about her events? My spiritual path, this is one thing that's kept me here. It's kept me alive, is my gift in being an intuitive psychic medium. My gift I definitely believe that my purpose is to bring people together. And that's what Soul to Soul Healing does, and that's what Moonlight Magic does. So my granddad had asked me about the committee. I said yes. And then I went about bringing people together and in one space. And whether it's a craft, whether it's crystals, whether it's a healing therapy, whether you're a reader, whether you make honey, the ethos behind Moonlight Magic, and you and Tom both know this because you've been to all of my events other than the last one.
I'm sorry we weren't there.
Honestly, please don't say sorry. But you guys actually helped make my dream become what it was, because just through words, just through living and having experienced the event, you brought it to life. You brought the vision together. And just through music, or just through capturing moments of Moonlight Magic, for anyone that has been to the events, I hope you've had a positive experience, and I hope you've experienced what I'm about to say. But I take my time with these events. I don't just invite anybody to be a stall holder, because the ethos, it's precious. It's precious. It's a precious community of like-minded people that have had stories that have been broken, battered, and abused and misunderstood. That's not everybody's story that comes to the events, but it's a majority. And
it's an event though that you can't explain unless you attend it. It is something else. It's so magical, and you come away just feeling uplifted and so supported as well, because like thanks to your event as well, like we've gained connections, haven't we? You know, some of the clients that we've worked with are from meeting them there, so thank you for that.
No,
as
it's
well.
okay, but that's my ethos, and
Yeah,
that's where I know that
community.
I'm doing my job, because everybody's like, "Oh, you're happy? It's a really good job. You really did well," and I'm very humble by it, but I don't know how to accept it, because it's like, it's not just about me. We're a community, we're a family, we come together as a whole, we're walking each other home. So it's a case of, it's not just me, it's the children that we're raising the money for, it's the clientele that come through the door, because healing in from the moment those doors open to the moment that they shut, something is happening for somebody in that room. So whether it's a new connection, whether they meet their partner there, whether they get inspired to take a course, whether they start taking natural honey or an ailment or a remedy, or they start taking a tincture that helps with psoriasis because they've been going to using Dipper-Base their whole life, and they just start taking this natural made remedy that helps with that. It's all part and parcel of it, because if somebody's created a crochet purse and given it as a gift, that's made with love. It's all about love. Precious. It's all about connection. And for me, it links in to the fact that I had to remember that I loved myself. I had to remember and dig myself out of the ground, you know, like a lotus flower, like a phoenix, rebirth myself and fight against a system that doesn't understand people like myself, that people don't understand, not just from the spiritual side of it, but from the endo side of it, from being a woman, a single woman, working in a society where you've got so many things against you, and keep showing up and keep being resilient. But what people don't see is the mask that you put on to fight just to be. So that's why it's so important to me, why the event is so important, and it's so important that I have so many people, like-minded people, come together. Because if you show up and you just expect to make money and you don't immerse yourself in it, it's not an event for you, it's not for you. But that's where Soul to Soul was birthed first, and then Moonlight Magic came from Soul to Soul Healing, because I just wanted to expand it. I wanted to do what I was doing on a smaller scale, on one-to-one level, and just throw it out. And it's growing and growing.
It's amazing. You should be so proud of yourself. Honestly, what you've created is a massive community of people, and anyone that goes to that event, well, we all love it. So
yeah, we raised
incredible.
£1,700 this Sunday just gone.
Congratulations!
And we've got another one September the 20th, June the 28th. Sorry, jumped ahead there, and Saturday, November the 7th. So if you missed out on this Sunday, you've got 3 more opportunities to attend. But yeah, it's just growing from strength to strength. I am proud of it, but I'm proud of everyone, all of us.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, bless you. Well, thank you so much. And can you just let our viewers know also how they can find out about you, like your website or Facebook page?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of developing a website. It's been on a bit of hold, but as I revamp and step into my new office that I'm about to open soon as well, all my socials are basically Facebook and Instagram, but there will be a website, because when I launch myself with my counselling, so it's it'll all be out there, but currently it's just Facebook. So Moonlight Magic Events or Soul to Soul Healing. So soul is in the sole of your foot to your soul.
Oh, it's beautiful. And I'll put that in the descriptions as well.
Thank you very, very much.
But thank you so much for today and for opening up. Like, honestly, you've been so brave and vulnerable. So thank you so much.
Well, if it can help somebody, and if it just gives that little bit of inspiration to know that you're not alone, get in touch if you need to. Come to one of the events and immerse yourself. And maybe we might do some more collaboration work in the future of actually making this something that we bring to the event and we make awareness for.
I think that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
You've got a good idea there, haven't you? I love it. Well, thank you so much. And thank you all so much for listening. And if you like this episode, don't forget to press the like button and subscribe. But thank you so much.